The Enlightenment Trap. Why spiritual grandiosity is just narcissism. You've been told to kill the ego, chase high vibes, and act enlightened. But here's the trap. Spiritual grandiosity often looks like awakening while behaving like narcissism. If you've ever felt superior because you meditate, or guilty for having low vibrations, you're not broken, you're caught in an ego costume. In this video, I'll show you exactly how ego hijacks spiritual practice through toxic positivity, bypassing, and inflated identities, and how to regain clarity fast. We'll map the mind using both Eastern psychology, Monas, Buddhi, Ahamkara, Samskara, Vasana and Klesha, and Western neuroscience, DMN and self-referential processing. Then apply practical tools to spot and dissolve ego traps in real time. Map of the mind, East meets West. Let's build a shared map, so we're not arguing with fog. In Eastern psychology, especially yogic and Vedantic frameworks, the mind isn't one thing. It's a stack of functions. This matters because the traps of grandiosity and bypassing hide in the seams between these functions. Start with Monas, the reactive, sensory-emotional stream. Think of it as the autopilot that generates immediate likes, dislikes, urges, and flinches. You don't choose to feel a surge when someone praises your aura. Monas fires. Next is Buddhi, the analytical, discerning capacity. Buddhi is the part that can weigh options, evaluate evidence, and choose. It's what you hope is steering the ship when you decide to set boundaries or leave a toxic group. Then there's Ahamkara, the eye maker, the sense of me, mine, and identity. Ahamkara binds your experiences into a coherent story. I'm an empath, I'm woke, I'm beyond drama. Finally, Samskara, impressions or memory traces etched by emotionally charged experience. They're like grooves in a record. When life's needle hits a familiar pattern, the old track plays automatically. Here's the key dynamic. Samskara's bias Monas. Ahamkara organizes those biases into an identity. And that identity then bends Buddhi's logic to protect itself. That's why someone can sincerely say, "I've transcended ego," and weaponize that sentence to avoid feedback. It's not that they're lying. Their Buddhi is serving Ahamkara's survival agenda. Now let's layer in Western science. The default mode network, DMN. A set of brain regions active during self-referential thinking. Stitches together past, present, and imagined future into a narrative of self. It's behind the meta-conclusion leap. I failed a launch, got criticized in a sangha, and struggled to sit still. Therefore, I'm unworthy. Or it's mirror. I had a bliss meditation, people DM me for advice, my reel popped. Therefore, I'm special. Studies of experienced meditators using fMRI suggest certain contemplative practices can reduce DMN activity and self-referential processing, which correlates with less rigid selfing. But here's the twist. If your Ahamkara hijacks the practice, look how spacious I am. The DMN can hum along underneath with a shinier story, the enlightened me. East and West converge on one insight. The self-story is plastic, context-sensitive, and easily biased. That plasticity is good news, we can change. But it's also why spiritual identity inflates so fast. The moment Monas tastes status, Ahamkara locks it in. I'm the conscious one. Buddhi then rationalizes the new narrative. I set boundaries, I only allow high-frequency people. If anyone challenges you, Samskara's flood, old shame, old rejection. So Monas defends with superiority or bypass. They're projecting. I've moved beyond that. Toxic positivity fits neatly into this map. When reality delivers pain, fear, or anger, Monas reacts. A healthy Buddhi would say, feel, name, integrate, act. But if Ahamkara is fused with a high-vibe identity, it forbids those states as threats. So Buddhi manufactures reframes that deny reality. Everything happens for a reason. Don't give it energy, love, and light. This mirrors critiques from clinicians and educators who note that suppressing negative effect increases distress over time. The result? Short-term relief, long-term pressure cooker. You're not resolving the wound, you're duct taping the warning light. Over time, the Samskara underneath grows stronger, and your identity hardens around a fragile positivity that can't tolerate truth. Spiritual bypassing is the same defense in robes. You reach for practices, meditation, non-dual quotes, psychedelics, not to meet what's arising, but to eclipse it, a pattern widely discussed by therapists and teachers, such as Teal Swan and clinicians writing on bypassing. You don't feel abandoned, you witness abandonment. You don't set a boundary, you transcend attachment. The bypass works because it numbs Monas. But Buddhi is now serving avoidance, and Ahamkara swells with specialness. I'm beyond human mess. The paradox. The more you insist you're above the wound, the more the wound runs your life from the basement. What about grandiosity specifically? Jungians warn about archetypal inflation, being possessed by king, queen, magician, goddess energy, rather than relating to it. See Robert Moore's work on grandiose archetypal energies. In our map, that's Ahamkara fusing with a high-status archetype, then recruiting Buddhi to defend the persona. You're not channeling the archetype, you're wearing it like armor. The litmus test. Does your consciousness increase humility and relatedness, or isolation and superiority? True contact with the archetypal deepens service. Inflation demands an audience. One more layer that Eastern teachers emphasize. Vasana and klesha, terms from classical yoga psychology. Vasana are habitual mental grooves, the mind's muscle memory. Klesha are colorings, emotional dyes the mind splashes on neutral reality. Good/bad, pure/impure. Together, they show why you keep looping the same enlightened-sounding takes. I'm detached, low vibe, aligned. Those phrases feel true because they're familiar, not because they're accurate. The more you see Vasana and klesha operating, the less hypnotized you are by your own narrative. So here's the synthesis. Manas fires, Samskara steers, Ahamkara claims, Buddhi explains, DMN narrates, Vasana repeats, klesha colors. If you don't see this stack in motion, you'll confuse narcissism for awakening and avoidance for wisdom. If you do see it, you can start unbinding the system in real time. And that's where we're headed next. Spotting the ego's disguises and installing practices that return you to reality without losing heart. The Enlightenment Trap defined. Let's put a clean edge on the problem so you can spot it fast. The Enlightenment Trap is when the ego slips on spiritual clothing and calls itself truth. Instead of I'm better because I'm rich or hot, it becomes I'm better because I'm healed, conscious, surrendered, high vibe. The costume looks holy, but the behavior maps onto classic narcissism. Superiority, specialness, lack of self-critique, dismissal of others' reality, and an identity that must be defended at all costs. Here's the pattern in plain English. You have a meaningful practice or peak state, deep meditation, breath work, an ayahuasca ceremony, a flow performance, a retreat breakthrough. Manas tastes bliss and relief. Ahamkara rushes in and claims it. This is me now. Buddhi starts narrating. I've transcended. I'm not like asleep people anymore. My boundaries are energetic. The DMN stitches a story around it and calls it a self. Samskaras of past shame or insignificance feel soothed, so the mind locks the identity in place. From here, any challenge to the identity is treated as threat. What does defense look like? Spiritualized put-downs. You're projecting. Your frequency is dense. I don't engage with drama. That's ego talking. The face is serene. The move is domination. Why is this narcissism and not just confidence? Because the center of gravity isn't reality. It's self-image. Feedback is discarded when it hurts the image. Empathy shrinks when someone's pain is low vibration. Accountability gets reframed as unenlightened. Relationships turn into stages for wisdom displays instead of arenas for mutual growth. The person gets more isolated and more certain. That's textbook narcissistic drift. Only now you can quote a sutra while you do it. Toxic positivity is the trap's oxygen. It promises that feeling only good equals being good. So when grief, anger, fear, or jealousy arise, you don't meet them, you rebrand them. Love and light. Everything happens for a reason. Don't give it energy. Stay in alignment. In the short term, you feel powerful because you're overriding discomfort. In the long term, you get brittle. Your system starts to panic around ordinary human experience. The moment life pierces the bubble, a breakup, a bank account dip, a public call out, the whole house shakes because you never built the muscles for truth. Spiritual bypassing is the trap's escape hatch. Instead of engaging with life, you jump to ultimate frames. It's all one. There is no self. Pain is an illusion. I'm the witness. Those statements can be true at certain levels of perception, but used as a strategy, they're anesthesia. You numb Manas, so you don't have to act in the world. You don't apologize, you observe the apologizer. You don't set a boundary, you release the attachment. Meanwhile, the unresolved Samskara runs your choices under the radar. The person who transcended need still acts out need, just more covertly. Archetypal inflation turns the trap into theater. Contact with a powerful pattern. King, queen, magician, priestess, savior becomes identity. You're not in touch with a current, you are the current. How do you know you're inflated? Service turns into spectacle. You need an audience for your giving. Critique becomes blasphemy. Ordinary tasks feel beneath you. You speak from on high, not eye to eye. When life asks for practical humility, clean the mess, own the mistake, sit with someone's raw pain. The archetype can't lift a finger without applause. There's another variant that looks noble, the ascetic or martyr mask. I'm the one who sacrifices, holds space, never needs anything. It plays as purity, but often hides control, resentment, or covert superiority. After all I've done, no one meets me. It's still specialness, just upside down. The ego doesn't care if it's grand or wounded, as long as it's central. Psychology often frames this as a martyr complex, where self-sacrifice secures identity and covert power. The comparison engine seals the deal. The mind runs endless spiritual leaderboards. Who's more surrendered, whose practice is purer, who's least triggered. You feel momentary highs when you win, spirals of shame when you lose. Either way, the game keeps you out of reality and inside the scoreboard. Real growth isn't a race, it's intimacy with what is. So the Enlightenment Trap, defined cleanly, is this: using spiritual concepts, states, and roles to protect a self-image instead of dismantling it, to avoid pain instead of metabolizing it, to dominate instead of relate. It's not that your experiences aren't real. It's that your identity construction hijacks them and turns them into armor. The fix isn't rejecting spirituality. It's reorienting the whole stack toward truth. Practices that lower self-importance, language that welcomes full-spectrum emotion, relationships that can reflect you honestly, and habits that turn attention back to the living moment, not the story about the moment. When you do that, humility grows, curiosity returns, and your wisdom stops needing a stage to be real. Vasana, it's habits all the way down. If you want a fast way to deflate spiritual grandiosity, start here. Most of what you think and feel in a given day isn't fresh insight, it's habit. In Sanskrit, that groove is called vasana. Think of it like mental muscle memory. If you've thought, I'm so aligned right now, 100 times after a good meditation, you'll think it again tomorrow, whether it's accurate or not. If you've reflexively labeled discomfort as low vibe, that label will keep firing even when the right move is to face it. The mind loves familiar moves. Vasana is the auto-completion of identity. Why does this matter? Because habits masquerade as truth. The sentence feels convincing precisely because you've rehearsed it. And when those grooves line up with a spiritual persona, the ego gets a conveyor belt. Same judgments, same phrases, same avoidance strategies, all dressed in holy language. The trap isn't that you have repetitive thoughts. The trap is forgetting they're repetitive. Let me show you exactly how this plays out. You finish a breathwork session and feel light, open, and kind. Beautiful. Manas registers pleasant sensation. Ahamkara immediately reaches for the stamp. I'm expanded. Buddhi starts narrating the lesson. See? When I'm elevated, everything flows. That narrative gets repeated after the next session, and the next. Soon, any state that isn't spacious feels like failure. A vasana forms. Chase expansion, avoid contraction. Now, when grief shows up, the habit fires. Don't feed it, raise your frequency. You feel righteous for overriding it, but the grief becomes a stored samskara. Multiply that by months, and you've got fragile positivity glued together by repetition. Flip the coin. You get called out by a friend. Hey, you steamrolled me in that meeting. If your habitual groove is defense disguised as wisdom, watch the auto-text kick in. I'm sensing projection. I don't engage in drama. I'm protecting my peace. The speed is the tell. Vasana moves faster than discernment. If you've said the same 3 lines to 3 different people across 3 months, that's not intuition. That's a pattern-protecting image. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Spot Vasana by its script quality. Real presence doesn't sound copy-pasted. It asks questions. It pauses. It can reverse itself. Habit can't do nuance. It defaults to slogans. Create a mental red flag for these phrases in your own mouth. Low vibration. Staying in alignment. I've transcended that. I don't entertain. They might be true sometimes, but if they arrive on schedule, treat them as usual suspects. Now the practical. How do you unwind a Vasana without attacking yourself? 3 moves. First, label it gently in real time. When you notice the line forming, this is just a habit. That label shifts you from the fighting floor to the balcony. You're no longer debating the content. You're watching the groove try to run. That tiny shift gives you a choice you didn't have 5 seconds prior. Choice is the oxygen egoic habit can't breathe in. Second, run the freshness test. Ask, what here is actually new? If nothing in the current situation is being considered, no specific details, no curiosity about the other person, no bodily sensations acknowledged, you're not responding, you're replaying. Name one concrete, present moment fact before you speak. My chest feels tight, or you looked away when I said that, or I notice I want to dismiss this. One fresh observation interrupts the loop long enough for Buddhi to come back online. Third, change one micro-behavior. Don't aim to overhaul your personality. Pick a small lever that contradicts the groove. If your habit is high vibe only, schedule 10 minutes to feel one low emotion without fixing it. If your habit is no conflict spirituality, say one sentence of ownership in your next repair. I interrupted you twice. If your habit is superiority, ask one sincere question you can't predict the answer to. Behavioral friction rewires faster than insight alone. Common mistakes to avoid. Don't make Vasana the new villain. The goal isn't to eradicate habit, it's to stop worshipping it. Your nervous system loves efficiency. Keep the habits that serve reality, like pausing before you text back, and weaken the ones that serve image. Also, don't try to out-affirm a groove that's built on avoidance. Repeating a shinier thought over a deep pattern is like painting over rust. It looks good for a week. A quick story. A student told me, I can't stop procrastinating spiritual practice. We looked closer. Every time she sat, a reel started. If you really were devoted, you'd feel bliss by now. She'd quit at minute 3. That wasn't laziness. It was a Vasana of performance. We swapped the metric. Sit for 10 minutes, feel whatever is there, and write one sentence describing it without judging it. 2 weeks later, the habit cracked. Not because she pushed harder, but because she stopped feeding the narrative that made sitting unsafe. Here's the kicker. Vasana doesn't need you to believe it, only to repeat it. The moment you see that, humility grows naturally. You're not a fraud for thinking enlightened thoughts. You're human with a mind that loves loops. The practice is catching the loop faster, choosing reality over familiarity, and letting your identity get quieter each time. Do that, and spiritual grandiosity runs out of fuel. The script can't carry a self that isn't reading from it.